I'm convinced at this point that Rudy has zero luck with little sisters. I knew the moment that this prince had touched Roxy that he had to die, and thankfully it looks like they're going in that direction. Sorry, I had 2 different openings I wanted to do, so I decided to do them both, but... Excellent episode of Jobless Reincarnation, episode 19 or part 2, episode 8, depending on which direction you go. But let's jump into it. Opening up the episode, we have another meeting with the man guide. It really does seem like at this point, Rudy just does not... Well, he's always never liked having to come here to see the man god, but at least he kind of put it into words again in the situation like, look, it's always going to be unsettling to be here with you because I'm always in this form. He doesn't like this form of his old self that he just wants to forget. And it really does seem like he's hitting heavy on the idea that he really wishes that... He thought that he got to a point where he turned over a new leaf and that he shouldn't be seeing this form of himself anymore. Like he's gone through all this stuff, he's matured, but he's still stuck in this body. Which again, kind of still hits heavy on that idea of when at some point will we see him kind of step away from that old self, I guess leave it behind. And I think that's really, I at this point, assuming the writer's intention is that he eventually needs to push to where he no longer has those old thoughts of his old life. He at some point leaves it behind. But yeah, this usual exchange between the two of them. At least this time, Rudy seems like he's like, hey, okay, look, thank you for all the good things you've done. You got me that eye. Thanks. What are we doing now? What's the next role? But Rudy does put a stipulation on. He's like, look, can you help me find my family? Like, if anybody could probably help him, guide him to where he needs to go, obviously it would be this man god. But the man god's like, that's overstepping bounds, but if you agree to do something specific, I'll help you. And the stipulation he puts is, you're going to see this scene, which it shows this whole scene of Aisha, and she's struggling with somebody. And it kind of later on hits on the idea that he's like, I wonder if he had me get the demon eye so that he can show me this stuff. So it almost implies that him having this demon eye would allow him to see things, and the man god's able to use that to show him more vivid instruction, I guess. But yeah, he said, this is Aisha. Gray Rat, you're gonna see this scene. When you do, confront and don't use an alias, and then send a letter to somebody you know in the Shirone castle, which obviously is gonna be Roxy. It's so funny that we already got an indication of why that was, why he had to use an alias. It's so bad. But yeah, they finally get to the central continent. They go to the Shirone kingdom, and that's where Rudy kind of reveals that he has information about where his family is. And this is where he kind of reveals to Eris and all them that, he has this other sister and this maid. Probably a little bit on the whole aspect of him having another sister. But it was interesting that he kind of notes that he doesn't want to reveal to them about the man god because he just like, I'm assuming it's probably not a good thing if I do. But yeah, he sends this letter, and then, yeah, he bumps into Aisha, who is in this back alley. And it was funny because at this particular point, I started getting a raised eyebrow already because the guards are like, they're pretty cool. They're like, hey, look, it's not what it looks like. We have to take this girl back to the king. And he's like, well, why are you stealing this lost girl's letter? That doesn't seem right. And of course, she grabs the letter, comes in and said, help me. And that's when it kind of springs into action that, I'll help you out. And he casts a spell without incantation, and the guards immediately acknowledge it. They're like, he just used a spell without an incantation, so he must be. It seemed like at that point already, I was already connecting the fact that they probably had spoken to Roxy or heard from Roxy, and she spoke highly of Rudy. And what was the unique thing about Rudy was that he can do these spells without incantations. And I think right there, they're already acknowledging they know who Rudy is. They know this is the person that is connected to Roxy. So everything beyond this point involving this kingdom, I was like, yeah, here we go. He's going into a trap. I knew the moment those guys said that, yeah, this isn't going to end well. Well, it was technically when the lady showed up to bring him to the castle. I was like, right at that point, I'm like, yeah, she's talking about Roxy being there. This is a complete trap. But yeah, of course, this girl's Aisha. This is the little sister. And yeah, he makes up some goofy name like the Shadow Moon Knight. He doesn't want to reveal that it's him because, of course, the man god told him not to. And that's when they're back at the hotel, why the man god had him do that. And that's because as they're talking, he's like, why didn't you ask your big brother for help? And he's like, well, I can't trust him or something like that. And that's when she reveals, yeah, there was this box that my mom had all this whole time, and she claimed that it was my brother's precious treasure. But one day I decided to take a peek, and you know what I found? Bansu. He had puns, and they were small, so it would have to have been for a 14-year-old. And it's like, oh gosh, here we go. He just has zero luck with his little sisters. Norn hates him because all she knows about him is that he beat up her dad. And now we have Aisha, who literally grew up knowing that Rudy was just a big pervert. Like, she mentioned the fact that, yeah, he peeked on some girl in the bath, which I guess is I don't know if that was really necessarily the way of explaining that, but yes, that's technically Sylphie. And then she mentioned the fact that he's peeked in on his parents. So apparently she's seen that. Just not a good picture painted. So yeah, she's like, that's when I realized he's a hentai. Like, he's hentai des. Like, yeah, this 4 to 5 year old is devoted to a pair of pantsu. Just not a good image. But hey, that is Rudy. But yeah, he pretty much at this point realizes, yeah, this was a good idea to have an alias. Doesn't want to reveal it. Ends up telling, Eris and Rizur to not, don't call him by Rudius going forward, which Eris still does. But yeah, she's kind of wanting to know his real name. He ends up kind of saying that he's this kennel master, this dead end, and she thinks it's Kakoi. But yeah, as he's talking to Rizur and Eris when she's asleep, he ends up revealing, no, don't reveal who I am. And Eris is like, I don't understand why. I think you're great the way you are. And he's like, oh, Eris. She's like, why do you have to show that gross face whenever I compliment you? But that's when they immediately get up and they're like, okay, let's go storm the castle. And Rizur's like, wow, it's been a long time since I've stormed a castle. And he's like, whoa, chill a second. Apparently Rizur's done this before, but yeah, that's the next morning. This Ginger York ends up showing up and says that she's like the 7th Prince's guard, royal guard, and that she's got notice from Lady Roxy to come here to, bring him in. And that's where he sets off to go. And this is the point in which Eris is like, make sure that you, introduce me to Roxy later, Rudius. And she just like yells his name out. And he just stands there staring at her like, seriously, I told you not to call me that. And she's just sitting there like, Nani? It's just... Oh, Eris is a dork. But yeah, this is when he's taken to the castle. And like I said, the entire time I'm thinking, you're just walking right into this, aren't you? Just walking right into this, aren't you? You're just walking right into this, aren't you? But yeah, this guard's like talking about how, Roxy always spoke highly of him and how he was able to do incantationless spells and how she, felt like she was inefficient being his master because of how great he was. And he's just soaking all this up. And yeah, they eventually get to this one chamber where he has to give up all his stuff. And again, I'm like, dude, this is a trap. The 2 guards that were after Aisha earlier standing there all panicking. And I'm like, oh gosh, dude, you mile away here. But yeah, he comes in this chamber and that's where he meets this Pax Serone, who is the 7th Prince. And he's got Lilia tied up on the ground and he's like, drop him. They basically pull this trap door and he falls down into this magic circle that obviously is going to be a barrier that he created. Well, he says that the barrier was created for Roxy. Like, he was going to trap her in this barrier. And so now he has to use him in there to be bait to bring in Roxy. Because yes, it seems like this whole entire thing is about a bratty, selfish, sex-crazed prince that apparently wants Roxy. He wants to bring in Roxy and capture her and essentially have his way with her for the rest of her life. And Rudy's the bait. He says that Lilia was going to be bait too, but apparently it wasn't important enough, so she never showed up. Which he kind of smartly, Rudy kind of used this as like I never knew that Lily was here, so obviously I need to, make a call out. Roxy will never know that I'm here unless we, give a call out that I'm trapped here, which oddly enough, the guy didn't fall for, which is kind of surprising. He just kind of changes the subject and kind of goes on to some rant about how he's going to make him see what he does to Roxy for the first time and then chop off his head with the expression on his face. Guy's just, I'm ready. I'm already ready for this guy to be taken out. I don't know, maybe hopefully Rizur can show up and just finish him off real quick. I mean, he's the 7th Prince. Everybody looks like they hate him. It just seems to imply that everybody around loved Roxy. All the guards and everybody don't seem like they like this guy that much. I don't know why anybody would. So I don't think they'll be upset if they just take out one prince. I mean, he's a 7th. That's not that important. The 1st to the 4th are important, but the 7th... So yeah, obviously Roxy's not going to come to help. She's in the Demon Kingdom. I'm assuming at some point they're going to have to go after Aisha, and at that point, hopefully Eris and Rizur figure something out. I don't know that they necessarily are... granted, Rudy can probably figure something out to get out of there. I mean, maybe he can break past the barrier. It's a magic barrier supposedly to prevent magic, so I don't know how he would be able to get out of it without somebody from the outside. So my assumption is that Eris and Rizur can probably jump in to save him. It's kind of one of those things where the prince captures him, but he doesn't realize the company he has with him are equally, if not more, dangerous than him. Plus, Bajerd knowing what this guy wants to do with Roxy and what he's probably already done to Aisha and Lilia, I'm pretty sure he's going to be pretty okay with taking him out very quickly. I'm just curious if, obviously Roxy went home and then she discovered the place was destroyed. I'm curious if she left knowing he created this stupid thing and she's like, I'm just done. Like, the moment she knew that he was creating this thing, she's like, I'm out of here. I'm done with this guy. But yeah, excellent episode. Besides the latter part, I'm already like, okay, get rid of this guy already. I'm not cool with this guy. Just get rid of him already. I don't know. I think technically if they were to take out the prince, that wouldn't be good. It's not going to look good upon them, and they're probably going to be chased for the rest of their life by this kingdom. But at the same time, I'm assuming they'll just kind of probably have this whole dead end fear struck into his eyes and then leave. But yeah, the introduction of Aisha was great. Like I said, he literally has zero luck with his little sisters. I don't think he's ever going to have luck with them. But it is funny, this idea of, okay, we'll create this persona, show how cool you are, and then hopefully later on reveal, hey, I'm this. But like I mentioned in our podcast talking about the series as a whole, the one thing I forgot about a long time ago was this idea that Lilia really does respect Rudy, because Rudy stepped in and prevented her from having to leave while she was pregnant or even after she had Aisha. So Lilia in that moment seen Rudy as this savior, like this person that saved her life and her child's life. And so in response to that, she decided to start supporting him fully. And plus, she said that she devoted her daughter, if she had this daughter and if she grew healthy, she was going to have this daughter serve Rudy. And so it kind of implies that whole aspect, because Aisha's like, even with this in mind, Mother always defended Rudy. Like, she always seen him in a positive light, and she never understood why. Well, that was because Lilia has this great, desire to serve Rudy. So that whole setup is going to be interesting to see how they play that out. But good to see, at least, even though they're in a bad position, Lilia and Aisha are okay. We'll just hopefully nothing has happened to Lilia this entire time. I don't think so, because it seems like this prince is an idiot through and through. I mean, yeah, solid episode. Really did enjoy it. Kind of seeing a little more clear picture about what the man god wants him to do is really great, and him kind of utilizing the man god to find people is really awesome too, because I mean, it's a huge world, so it kind of seems given to utilize what he can do to find everybody. But yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 19 of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, or episode 8 of part 2. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of this episode. Subscribe if you haven't already, share this video if you can, support us on Patreon or through the tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody it does, and y'all take care.